G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Sonos Ace Bluetooth headset. Well, there's a lot more interest in the release of the Sonos Ace Bluetooth headset than we'd usually see from products in this category. And that's because it's Sonos, who has spent now the best part of 20 years earning an excellent reputation for delivering brilliant audio experiences in the speaker space. So can that quality transcend from speakers into a Bluetooth headset? Look, as we're going to find out here, the Sonos Ace excels at what it is, but I fear it's probably going to be judged for what it's not. But before we dive into my Sonos Ace review, let's look at the numbers here. Now, the Sonos Ace releases on June 5, 2024. And here in Australia, this headset's going to set you back $699. Now, that puts it about $200 more than a Sennheiser Momentum 4 and the Sony XM5, but about $200 less than the Apple AirPods. And look, for the Sonos brand, I'd usually say, considering the quality that we usually get from Sonos and the brand power here, I'd say that price is probably usually about right, except that usually part of what you're paying for is this entry into the Sonos ecosystem. The ecosystem which Sony has built, the ecosystem which Sonos has built across its various products is a large part of what makes it so cool. And as we'll go into, this doesn't fit into the ecosystem as many fans probably think it will. And so with that in mind, maybe $699 is a bit over, but it's still not too bad a price for a product that's as quality as this. Now, what are you going to get for that money? So let's dive in and have a look at some of the specs, because there's quite a bit going on. So each of the cups has a 40mm dynamic driver in it. There are 4 microphones on each cup too, for a total of 8. Most of those to do with the active noise cancellation, but you've also got obviously a mic for voice calls, and that uses beamforming to target your voice and to help kind of pull it out from any background noise, and also obviously to make it nice and clear. Now, you're getting head tracking, you're getting spatial audio and Dolby Atmos support. There's active noise cancellation, as I mentioned, and an aware mode. There's an in-app equalizer, which will let you play with bass, treble, and loudness. And there's 2 colors, in black or soft white, and a nice matte finish. There's on and off pausing, so when you take the headphones on, take the headphones off, they'll automatically pause, and then they'll come back on when you put them back on. Stainless steel arms, which I'll go into when we talk a little about the design. Voice assistant option. There's rapid charging, so you can get 3 hours of battery time in just 3 minutes. There's also, in total, a 30-hour battery life promoted, and that's with the active noise cancellation on, and I've got to say, my tests would say that that's pretty accurate. There is Bluetooth 5.4 support, so that is technically enough for lossless audio, but only with a small range of Android devices, which are Qualcomm Snapdragon Sound aptX enabled, and the ability to do 2 Bluetooth devices at once, so you can just switch between the 2. Now, I've done a separate unboxing video, so I won't go into too much detail here. In fact, I'll link that video at the end of this one if you want to jump across and see. But the first thing you notice when you pull it out of the box is just how quality it feels in your hands. It's a really lovely finish. It just feels so plush and soft and luxe on the padding here and the padding at the top. It's got a kind of like almost like a powdered coat over the kind of matte finish that just feels sublime in your hands. I really like the design of this device. Obviously, Sonos always keeps their branding quite subtle, so doesn't come out and kind of really grab at you like that. You can see here, this is stainless steel. So the arms here are a nice stainless steel, which again just gives it that real luxe premium finish. And as someone who has what is effectively, I guess, wombat roadkill for a hairdo, I love the fact that the hinges are inside here. So there's nothing really kind of like get your hair caught on, which will, well, it probably won't affect everyone, but for people like me, that just means that I don't rip out chunks of my already very thinning hair because the hinge is exposed. So again, really nice finish there, really nicely done. This is the soft white, as you can possibly see. There's a black version as well. And You'll notice I've got this color coding on the inside here, which I also quite like. So just got the green, hopefully you can see that. There's a green and kind of a soft gray here. That's just to give you a bit of a visual identification of which side is which. So when you just pick it up, you become a bit more used to just grabbing it exactly the right way. But there's more than just that. You can see it's like a bit off center with the way it sits here. And you've also got this big button here. So it's kind of obvious, I think, that which way it's supposed to go. You are able to pull off these really easily with a nice little magnet there, so you can clean them, potentially replace them if they ever get damaged. This is probably the part that's going to get the most kind of chewed up as you go. And you can see that nice little angle they've got there. So it's really well thought out with the design. If you check out on my channel as well, I've got the full presentation that Sonos briefed the media with. It's worth just having a look at if you're interested in that stuff, to talk why they ended up on design details like that, because they did talk through it all. But it just basically helps it kind of just sit in the case and sit against your ear in a really nice way. And it does definitely encompass your ear fully. It's not like it's kind of pinchy on your ear in any way, shape or form. It really is very, very comfortable to wear, and I've worn it for long sustained periods right now without any issues at all. As mentioned, you've got this big button over here. This is kind of your interaction. They call it the content button, I think. So this works with just changing music, changing volume, answering phone calls. It goes in and out and up and down, and you can do multiple presses to do different types of functions. I didn't see anywhere you could actually customize that, which would have been a nice addition actually. Having this, that would be a nice thing to have in the app. I didn't see anything ability to customize it, but it's all pretty straightforward once you get your head around it. It's kind of fun, isn't it? And it also gets used with the TV swap, which I'll talk a bit more in detail later on, because that's a pretty cool feature. But yeah, it's a swing and a miss in many ways. Anyway, we'll get on to that. You got your active noise cancellation and your aware mode. You can toggle between the two with this button right here. And over here, you've got your power on, your Bluetooth with all the Sonos sounds that it usually comes up with. So when you do that, so you know it's happening. The good news is when you're kind of got it on and it's on your head and you're really reaching up and you're trying to fiddle around, it's quite easy to feel them and know exactly where you are. It's really very quick to know where to go and what it's going to do, and that's a big plus, and talks to me about not just a quality product but a well thought out design, and which is what you'd hope for at $699, right? If I do have one issue with the design at all, it's that it's a little bit loose. I don't know if you can see it wobbling there, but it's just a little bit loose. So I went on a big 40-minute walk today wearing these, and it didn't fall off or anything like that. It wasn't like I was constantly adjusting it either. But any sort of sudden movements, or if you were to dare try and jog or something like that with one of these on, I think you'd struggle pretty quickly, because like I've got a pretty big head, figuratively and literally. But yeah, a little bit more clasp would have been nice, I think. But small complaint. Most of it's just beautiful. Oh, and don't forget the case. So obviously it comes with the case as well. Again, I like that it's nice and slimline, because these cases can sometimes get quite bulky, and nice and hard as well. It does feel like it's very protected in there. And the way they got it set up, there's a little pouch which can hold your USB cables and your USB to 3.5mm jack, which is included. And that's a handy inclusion for in-flight, potentially also some game controllers and things like that as well. And obviously any older device. So stoked that they include the case in that price, so they should, but it's a really well-made case, and it's definitely nice to have it color-coded as well. But of course, when it comes to things like the Sonos Ace, it's always about the performance. How do these things behave? And it's bloody fantastic. It is such a great sound that comes out of these headsets. In fact, it's pretty much become straight away my headphone of choice for all of my listening needs. I just love the clarity. I love how well balanced it is, just straight out of the bat. It just does such a great job at, you know, there's no distortion. You can kind of hear all those levels really lovely. The voice comes through so well. You know, the highs, the lows, the mids, everything is just crystal clear. You can really taste the layers. It's such a fantastic listen. This is a really, really, really good Bluetooth headset. With the active noise cancellation, it's good. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but it's still really good. And as I mentioned, I went for this big walk with these today, and I was walking by a pretty busy road, and I couldn't notice the cars that were coming past with the active noise cancellation on. You hit the Aware mode, as soon as you tap that, I'm like, oh, vroom, vroom, okay, there they are, I can hear the cars. Back onto active noise cancellation, and it blots it out. It's not gonna just drown out the entire world completely. That's why I'm saying like it's not some next level ANC, but it definitely deadens it to a significant amount. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm also, as I mentioned, pretty happy with the battery performance. In fact, I'm very happy with the battery performance. And I know like some of the gaming headsets are getting ridiculous hours now, but 30 hours is solid, right? And I have had these sitting on running now for over 12 hours today. So they've been on the entire time, they haven't been turned off. And I've had active noise cancellation on the entire time. I've probably used them, to be fair, I probably only used them for about 5 of those 12 hours. But otherwise I've just left them sitting there, just active noise cancelling and just doing their thing. And it was still on 88% battery when I looked at it before. Now, obviously, if I'm using it more intensely, that's gonna go down quicker, but you know, that still just kind of tells you that the battery life is pretty good. And yeah, like I said, like it depends on the use case and what you're doing with it and so forth, but you know, that 30 hours is looking pretty good. Very loud too, they really pump these things. You can really get the volume up. There's not a whole lot to complain about when it comes to the quality of the sound coming out here. The spatial audio and the head tracking stuff's really interesting. Like I love it, but the head tracking is a bit of a wig out. So if you've got the head tracking on and you got your phone in front of you and you're playing your phone like this, and then you turn that way, it favors that ear. And if you turn that way, it favors that ear. And it's a bit kind of, at first you're like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? So I'm not sure if everyone's going to be everyone's cup of tea for just general listening, depending on, I guess, what you're listening to and where it's coming from. And I also just kind of felt like a little bit like it was just favoring the left side a little bit more than it should have. And when I went into the equalizer and tried to just, in the app, and just tried to switch it over to the right side a little bit, just bump it over a little bit, it was like a hard right. There's the left, it just increments over and you kind of get this kind of, you know, moves that way, but with the right, it just wasn't. So there's a software gremlin in there that they definitely need to address, at least with my unit and my experience with it. But I'm sure they will. These types of things will get ironed out, I'm sure. I also noticed a couple of times with the app, it's just not seeing them. And I don't know why. So just before I came on to film this, actually, I was just listening to Spotify Bluetooth through these. And I was listening to it through my phone, through Bluetooth, but it wasn't showing up in the app. So I went in to play with the equalizer and I couldn't because the Sonos couldn't see it. And that's kind of happened 1 or 2 times and all of a sudden it comes back. So like I said, there's a couple of little gremlins there. I don't think that's worth like saying that there's a flaw with the product. I feel like those are launch bugs that will probably get ironed out. But you know, it is what my experience has been like. So I did want to tell you all about it. Now I have used these as well to make a few phone calls. Again, while I was just walking around past the busy roads just to see how it went. No problems at all. I could hear them clearly, they could hear me clearly, even with the wind, even with the cars going past. It does a pretty good job of picking up your voice, so it is going to work well in that capacity for sure. And yeah, well, yeah. I also love the way that the Sonos products in general, you just can't get them to distort, they just don't distort. So you can really just go hammer and tong with these and you know you're gonna get really good sound experience. So look, as a Bluetooth speaker, the Sonos Ace, as a Bluetooth headset, the Sonos Ace is dope. It's really good. But it's not all roses. There is a bit of a problem. So the Sonos Ace has this feature called TV Swap, and it's really quite cool. Basically, what it means is that when you are watching a movie or a TV show or playing a video game, whatever you happen to be doing on your TV and it's running the audio through a Sonos soundbar, you can flick this switch and you actually hold it, and it will transfer the entire home theater experience into the headset. And I have tested this in Sonos's house with their setup, and it was really, really impressive. In fact, it was so good, I couldn't actually tell when the home theater system was playing through the home theater system or when it was playing through here. And the first time I did it, I was like waiting for them to turn it on. I was like, okay, when's it gonna start? When's it gonna start? And they were like, no, it's already started. And I was like, what? Like I couldn't even pick up on the difference. So the feature works really, really well. Unfortunately, I was unable to test it here in my house. And the reason I can't test it here in my house is because I have an Android phone. It doesn't work with Android phones. At launch, it only works on iPhones. Now, not only that, it only works if you have a Sonos Arc. It doesn't work at launch with a Sonos Beam or a Beam Gen 2 or with a Ray. It only works with a Sonos Arc and doesn't work at all if you don't have a Sonos soundbar. So that's two kind of significant holdbacks which make it null and void for a large chunk of the people that would really like to use that feature. And I don't understand why, because it's been these things have been in production for a long time. They've been working on these headsets for years and they couldn't get those stuff ready for launch. And even it's annoying in general because I really wanted to test this here at my house as well, but I have tested it. It does work and it is excellent, but I also couldn't test it with the gaming consoles, which I really, really wanted to. Now, unfortunately, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 don't allow native Bluetooth pairing with the headset. You got to get a dongle and do all kinds of bits and pieces, right? So I don't know how this performs as a gaming headset, and I think it would go really, really well, especially on the PlayStation 5, which does its 3D audio with this spatial audio headset. So I wasn't able to test that, and that's a real bummer. And it sucks, but it's also going to suck for a lot of people who get this on day one, because there's no timeline for when these are going to actually come out. And I'm also curious as to why, given that it's a software update, if they can update the TV swap experience to the old Beam soundbar, why they couldn't work with some of the big TV manufacturers and just put this as software in an app somewhere. And I understand they've gone into detail about how the binaural renderers and all that type of stuff, but I just feel like it's this great feature that isn't going to really get the use it deserves. Now at the top, I said to you guys, I think this may end up not being judged for what it is, which is a Bluetooth headset, and it may end up being judged for what it's not. And it's the things that it's not which are going to annoy, I feel like, the fan base and a few other people, because of those aforementioned issues with the TV swap feature and how limited it is and restricted it is for definitely at launch, but we don't know for how long because there's no timeline for when it's going to actually get sorted into the future. So how long we have to wait before I can use it on my Android phone? How long before I can use it on a Beam or a Ray? We don't know. But there's other things that are restrictive as well. For example, you can't pair two of these to your Sonos Arc. You can only pair one. And that's a huge missed opportunity. Take it from me with kids. Okay, the ability, if my kids are playing, Minecraft or whatever they're doing in there, I should know, and I just want them to shut up and turn that sound volume down, I can only do it to one of them. I can't do it to both of them. If you're sitting there in a flat and you've got neighbors next door and you want to listen to, the pumping sound of a great movie, only one of you can do it. The other thing that you can't do is you can't have the sound coming through the soundbar and these at exactly the same time. There's no simultaneous option here, which basically means if you've got someone who really wants to listen to it nice and loud and they want to put on these, and then there's someone else who wants to kind of listen into the background or is on the phone and kind of half paying attention or whatever, for whatever reason. There's plenty of reasons why you might want to do that. One of the ones that was put to me is that in some couples, someone's hard of hearing and can't hear the dialogue properly. And so they can put these on to hear the dialogue properly and sit there on the couch and still have an experience with someone else who's watching it through the normal TV. So that, again, is a missed functionality. But the biggest one is the lack of Wi-Fi. And I think this is where it's really going to be judged for what it's not, because it's a Bluetooth headset. But this is unusual for Sonos. Sonos' whole thing is its ecosystem about this Wi-Fi like family of devices that you can walk into and just play with and manipulate in all these really interesting ways. And this doesn't show up as the Wi-Fi option. So what basically in the app, when you're looking through the app, you've got I've got 6 or 7 Sonos products in this house. They're all listed under the Wi-Fi option, and I can press play in one and switch it between rooms and change which rooms are listening to what and do all this really cool stuff that makes it awesome. But these are in a separate section, Bluetooth. And I can't just flick the music to here. I can't just flick the music from here to there if I just walk in from the street or something like that. And that just seems at odds with everything that Sonos is about, right? But on top of that, if it was Wi-Fi, then that lossless audio would be more accessible and easier to also bring to this device as well. I fear that the fact that it's an awesome Bluetooth headset is going to be lost a little bit in the conversation by people who are A, jaded by the latest app update, which has disgruntled a lot of kind of the Sonos hardcore, but then also the way that it's not fully integrated into the Sonos ecosystem. So perhaps the answer is in the narrative, right? Is it fair to really attack these for being something it's not trying to be? If it's just trying to be a great Bluetooth headset, then maybe we should just be focusing on that. In which case, it's a bloody fantastic Bluetooth headset. It does a really, really good job. But it's just so hard not to see the potential for it to be something more. And you just really want it to reach that full potential. And maybe it will one day. But don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, because these are a fantastic headset, and I am definitely going to be using these moving forward until the next best thing comes around. Anyway, I'm Chris Stead. That was my Sonos Ace review. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos, including, like I said, the full presentation that Sonos presented to us. I've also got an interview with the Sonos project manager up on the site and the unboxing as well. So check out my channel. Make sure you get into all of those. And yeah, until next time, I'll check you later. You.